fight the power!
After all these years, I have finally watched the 2007 anime series titled Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. The show stars the Shy Simone, a young dude living underground who gets caught up in an escape to the surface by a wild hype man named Kamina. The two manage to do this thanks to a giant head robot, which they later combine with another bigger head robot to form Gurren Lagann. While being produced at Studio Gainax, Gurren Lagann could be considered the start of Studio Trigger, as many of the employees and creatives that made Gurren Lagann went on to form Trigger. It may as well be an honorary Trigger show, with how a lot of the studio's famous over-the-top stylization could be seen taking its roots here, which has made the show hold up extremely well in the animation department, especially with how much effort and creativity went into storyboarding and animating all the crazy cool action and drama. I'll even go a step further and consider Gurren Lagann a neat transition piece between Gainax to Trigger, of how Lagann takes Gainax's most celebrated work, Neon Genesis Evangelion, a mecha show famous for dealing with many existential issues of a dreary tone, and puts a new spin on those ideas with a bombastic sense of optimism and hope. But that doesn't mean the show doesn't hold back its dramatic punches when it needs to. For example, after Kamina and Simone have a fun, excitement-filled battle in episode 2, the last scene of that episode following the battle has Kamina discovering the grave of his old man, and he just mourning his loss while breaking down into tears. When I first saw that scene, I finally understood why everyone was gassing this show up, because everything from the lowest points of despair to the highest points of hope in this show is heightened to adrenaline-pumping proportions, yet it all just hits me in a personal place without feeling overbearing. On the topic of Kamina, this brings me to one of my favorite aspects of Gurren Lagann, the motivation it gives its characters and the viewers. Kamina is the root of this motivation. He wasn't a perfect guy, he could be nasty to some of his teammates, and he often rushed into battles with no plan, but he was still a valuable friend to Simone and so many others, and taught them about believing in themselves despite the impossible odds they're put against. Even after he passes away, you could still feel his legacy and impact in the show, especially of Simone's grieving arc and later being inspired to keep on fighting for himself to honor his bro. It's freaking beautiful, man, and something so many out there can relate to, whether it be a great role model they looked up to or a personal friend. I also really love how Gurren Lagann's theme of legacy works both ways, both in honoring the past and fighting for the future. Now, all of that was my standard media analysis for Gurren Lagann. You should watch it if you haven't already, but I'd also like to talk about what the show means to me personally. So when I told me friends I was watching Gurren Lagann for the first time, some of them were shocked I hadn't seen it before. One friend in particular snarkily said that me watching the show is like if a lifelong Western cartoon fan watched SpongeBob or The Simpsons for the first time in their 20s, which gave me a hearty laugh, I'll admit, despite making me question my life choices. So yeah, I was super late to the Gurren Lagann train, but I've been wanting to see this show forever, as it's considered a masterpiece by so many mecha and anime fans, but for one reason or another, I didn't take the plunge until recently. I just had other stuff I wanted to watch first, and I usually watch things I'm more interested in than what's considered quote-unquote essential viewing to be into a thing. For example, I didn't fall in love with manga and anime through Dragon Ball or whatever shonen is currently sweeping the world. I fell in love with the mediums through the random Pokemon Adventures volumes I found at the library, or taking a chance on Bungo Stray Dogs because I thought it looked stylishly cool. Those are videos for another day, but the point is, there has to be some kind of current event or spark curiosity from me if I'm gonna invest my time into a piece of media. Or one of my co-hosts can force me to watch a thing for a monthly podcast Analytical Fanboys on my side channel, but that's besides the point. So the big question is, why did I get into Gurren Lagann? It ultimately comes down to a group of friends of mine. We're united together under a couple of lovable, funny men, but those lovable men have since passed away. Naturally, a lot of us are going to be distraught, and I feel like I had to take leading action, comforting and motivating everyone in our group as we built ourselves back up and bonded closer together. Despite this, I was still feeling disconnected from everyone despite the bond strengthened in the midst of tragedy. I still feel empty, and for a while I couldn't really write anything. I had the ideas, but no motivation. I probably could have excused it as being down in the dumps after a bunch of shitty things, but to me, I needed to create more than ever. I love writing and editing videos, recording admittedly less so, and the fact that I couldn't do it even for an ultimately small period of time made me feel like I'm wasting time and I'm wasting my life and I just feel shitty. There was even points where I was considering to just stop making YouTube videos altogether. Then one day, I was chatting with the group, and one of them was talking about how Gurren Lagann motivated them despite it all. His passion for it was infectious, so I finally took the plunge, and I'm forever thankful for it. I wouldn't say Gurren Lagann saved me, I still have a lot I need to work on my own, but it sure as hell gave me clarity and motivation. Hell, I'm gonna describe Gurren Lagann as pure motivation, and nothing shows that better than the scene where Simone confronts an enemy with a motivational speech about his fallen bro, Kamina. Some may see this as Simone getting over his trauma and grief in a single big scene, but I see it more as Simone using those negative emotions to push him towards greater heights instead of wallowing in the what-ifs. He's still crying, he still wishes he could spend more time with him, he still wishes he could fill the void Kamina's death left on his friends. But he isn't Kamina. He's Simone, and that's okay. Even if he's doing a somewhat similar thing as Kamina, his own style is gonna show and inspire others in a different way than Kamina did, and that generation's gonna inspire others in their own way, etc, etc. As silly as this sounds, this plays into one of my big fears of doing YouTube or creative stuff, which is being a discount version of other creatives. Hell, those fears are going into this very video given that Bread Sword's Gurren Lagann essay is one of the most beloved anime videos I've seen. I may not be able to surpass that video in my lifetime, but we won't know till I go for it. I'm gonna keep trying and trying to reach my own super beloved video essay one video at a time. I may not have the complex vocabulary, the interesting behind the scenes information, the long runtimes, or fancy video editing as other video makers, but screw you all, I want to do this, so I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna be able to improve on anything unless I do something about it, so screw it. I'm making this stupid, dumb, simple video to stake my claim that I will keep at my creative pursuits for as long as I live, and I hope that'll inspire more people to create like my inspirations and mentors before me. I do not care if my videos are redundant because better dissections of the topic exist. I want to make these darn things because I want to make them. This has been Buster, and I may be super late to the Gurren Lagann is really great train, but I can assure you this show will keep on motivating me to create and improve for years to come.
Row, row, fight the power.